After decades of carefully guarded secrecy, a shocking revelation has surfaced, a secret that strikes at the very heart of the Catholic Church. Pope Francis's son has stepped forward, and what he's demanding isn't just staggering. It's historic. But even more shocking is the emotional plea at the center of this story: a son abandoned, a mother left behind, and a pope who, it seems, chose duty over family. But what does this revelation truly mean for the Catholic Church? How could such a secret have stayed buried for so long? And what does it say about the man who has been revered worldwide as a symbol of humility and compassion? Stick around, because this story is far from over, and the truth could shake the very foundations of the Vatican itself. For centuries, the Vatican has stood as a fortress of mystery, towering stone walls guarding ancient secrets known only to a select few. It is the seat of power for the world's largest Christian church, a place where appearances are carefully crafted and tightly controlled. And at the center of it all stood Pope Francis, a man celebrated for his humility, his progressive reforms, and his tireless advocacy for the marginalized. But behind the warm smiles and heartfelt speeches, it seems a darker, far more human story has been hidden. Until now. In an absolutely unprecedented move, a man has come forward claiming to be the biological son of Pope Francis. This man, once hidden in the shadows, is now stepping into the light, and his story is leaving the world reeling. He alleges that he was abandoned by Pope Francis as a child, left to be raised solely by his mother, with no support, no recognition, and no protection from the man who should have been his father. For years, perhaps even decades, this son remained silent, living an ordinary life while carrying the extraordinary burden of his lineage. Why did he stay silent for so long? Likely because he knew the sheer power the Vatican holds, a power that can silence voices, erase histories, and protect reputations at all costs. But now, the time for silence is over. The son is not just demanding acknowledgement. He's demanding a share of the Pope's estate, a fortune connected not only to personal assets but to the immense wealth and influence tied to the Vatican itself. This isn't just another scandal. This isn't about political disagreements or theological debates. This is about flesh and blood. About betrayal. About a secret that directly challenges the very moral fabric Pope Francis has spent his lifetime preaching to uphold. The obvious question is, why now? Why come forward at this particular moment? As with so many bombshells, timing is everything. Pope Francis has faced recent health scares, sparking conversations about his legacy and the future leadership of the Church. Perhaps, sensing the end of an era, the Pope's son realized that if he didn't speak now, the opportunity might be lost forever. But here's where the story twists yet again. The son insists it's not just about money. It's about something far more profound, a need for justice, a need for recognition, a need to heal the deep, painful wounds of abandonment. Imagine growing up knowing your father was not just alive but was one of the most powerful men on earth, yet choosing faith over family, choosing the institution over his own blood. The emotional scars left behind are unimaginable. In interviews, the son speaks of growing up fatherless, of watching other children embraced by their fathers while he stood on the outside, wondering why his own never came. He recounts birthdays missed, milestones ignored, a life marked by a painful absence that money could never fix. And yet, with all the anger and hurt in his voice, there is still a sadness, the sadness of a man who, deep down, wishes things could have been different. But it's not just personal hurt at play here. The implications for the Catholic Church are enormous. If true, this revelation could dismantle the image Pope Francis has carefully cultivated for decades, that of the loving, humble servant of the people. And more importantly, it would reveal a deeply troubling pattern, a church that preaches forgiveness, compassion, and responsibility, yet remains willing to look the other way when it comes to the failings of its own leaders. Behind Vatican walls, chaos is said to be brewing. Officials are reportedly scrambling to manage the situation, fearful of the devastating fallout if the story gains further traction. Historically, the Vatican has been adept at damage control, swift, silent, and surgical in how it handles scandals. From financial corruption to horrifying abuse cases, the Church has always managed to survive. But this time feels different. Because this scandal isn't about theological debates or organizational failings. It's about the Pope himself. About his personal life. About a betrayal that can't be hidden behind ornate robes or towering cathedrals. Some insiders suggest the Vatican is considering a radical new approach, embracing the scandal head-on. There's talk, though unconfirmed, that Pope Francis might even agree to a private meeting with his son. If such a meeting happens, it could either lead to reconciliation or ignite an even bigger firestorm. The stakes couldn't be higher. For Pope Francis, this isn't just about preserving his legacy, it's about preserving the trust of millions who look to him as a moral compass. And for the Catholic Church, the consequences are just as dire. A scandal of this magnitude could push even more believers away at a time when global trust in institutions is already at an all-time low. But the question remains, will Pope Francis choose humility and acknowledgement? Or will he fall back on the Vatican's old ways of secrecy and control? There are already murmurs of division within church leadership. Some argue that transparency and reconciliation are the only paths forward, that the Church must embrace honesty if it hopes to survive into the next century. Others believe any acknowledgement would be tantamount to admitting too much and risking an irreversible collapse of public trust. Meanwhile, the public waits and watches. Could this scandal force Pope Francis into an early resignation? Could it lead to sweeping reforms in how the Church views the personal responsibilities of its leaders? Or will it be another footnote, buried and forgotten like so many scandals before it? Only time will tell. But one thing is clear, this is not just another headline. This is a moment of reckoning. Not just for Pope Francis. Not just for the Vatican. But for millions of faithful followers around the world who now must grapple with a painful, uncomfortable truth. The men we revere are human. Flawed. Capable of deep, profound failures, even as they lead us in prayer. And for Pope Francis, the man once hailed as the great reformer, the people's pope. The question now is no longer about what kind of legacy he will leave behind. It's about whether he will have the courage to face the truth he spent a lifetime hiding. Stay tuned, because this story is far from over.